My name is Theodore Boone. I'm on the faculty of Corvinus University here in Budapest, and also an attorney with the international law firm of Dentons, where I work in the Budapest office. I'm speaking to you from my office in Andrássy 11, only about 400 meters from the home where John von Neumann was born. And I'm going to be speaking very briefly about US and EU regulatory initiatives considered in the context of von Neumann's article, Can We Survive Technology? Before that, I really wanted to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak at this conference. When I saw the list of speakers and the list of distinguished guests, I thought to myself that perhaps there hasn't been a greater collection of knowledge and wisdom in both breadth and depth than there is at this conference here today, except for when János von Neumann sat in his office alone and was working and thinking. Szeretnék is magyarul mondani valamit, mert annyira régen tanultam magyarul, hogy legalább időnként tudok használni, hogy tényleg nagyon örülök, hogy lett ez a lehetőség ma beszélni. János von Neumann in the article said technological evolution is still accelerating, and it can always be constructive and beneficial, but there are consequences that tend to increase instability. With regard to artificial intelligence, most regulators, including the US and the EU, they're looking for the systems to be fair and reliable and safe, private and secure, inclusive, transparent, and accountable. How is the EU seeking to handle this with the draft EU AI Act, which has been gestating? And von Neumann talked about the issue of geography and technology as well, basically saying in his article that technology doesn't really listen to geography. And that is basically how the EU is handling it as well, because the EU AI Act will apply not only to companies based in the EU, but any company anywhere in the world doing business in the EU. Those companies or people as well will have to comply with the EU AI Act and respect what the EU calls fundamental rights, such as freedom of expression, non-discrimination, human dignity, protection of privacy. And how do you define the artificial intelligence for purposes of this act? That's an issue that many regulators have been struggling with. Basically, the EU definition in Parliament under the EU AI Act says artificial intelligence system means a machine-based system that is designed to operate with varying levels of autonomy and that can, for explicit or implicit objectives, generate outputs such as predictions, recommendations, or decisions that influence physical or virtual environments. So predictions, recommendations, or decisions, a machine-based system. That definition was basically the same as the OECD definition of 2019, and also the definition that was used in the new White House Executive Order on AI issued just a few days ago. The EU AI Act takes that broad definition and then seeks to say AI systems will be placed in different baskets. You have limited risk systems that basically are subject to light transparency obligations, high risk systems subject to heavy regulatory oversight, and unacceptable and prohibited systems. And prohibited systems could be systems that conduct social scoring, that use subliminal techniques, real-time biometric analysis. In terms of the prohibition of technology, it was also interesting to see in the article from von Neumann, which I've read many times, as I'm sure most of you have as well, that a crisis in technology cannot be solved by inhibiting a certain part of technology. He said, for one thing, it's so intertwined, these different parts of technology. And he says, quote, on a more pedestrian level, immediate basis, useful and harmful techniques lie everywhere so close that it's never possible to separate the lions from the lambs, which is a very interesting point. And basically, under that context, let me turn briefly to the US White House AI executive order that was just issued on October 31st, a few days ago. That order, again, uses the same definition in effect for AI as was used for AI system by the OECD and the EU. Please note that executive orders are, although law, are subject to variation. Another administration can come in and change it or revoke it. There was one executive order, by the way, that was revoked and put in place in a row by 4 separate US administrations. So I would not expect the US Congress to slow down much on looking at AI. Basically, what does the executive order do? 2 things. It's basically the starting gun, as I see it. It instructs a panoply of US agencies to really get going on issuing guidance in their area. And that is one of the most important things. Second, with respect to dual use technology, again, lions and lambs, as von Neumann would put it, prohibited, good, everything in between. And it says there for dual use technology, that is technology that can be used for non-military, national security purposes, but also could be used for nefarious purposes. Companies must report on their development of such technology or even their intent to develop it. So I think that's one key point. Also, the EU AI Act starts the process on deciding how all the intellectual property is going to be worked. Who owns AI-generated intellectual property? And it looks at issues like criminal justice as well. When might it be acceptable for a judge to use AI predictive modeling to decide on what a parole situation might be? So this issue of using judgments, von Neumann talked about as well in the article. And he says for progress, there's no cure, and you can't find automatically safe channels. And the only safety possible is relative, and it lies in an intelligent exercise of day-to-day judgment. And I think that's really where we are today. And I so respect the conference and the organizers for this conference. If you would allow me, just one story on my birthday not too long ago, a big birthday that ends in a 0. My wife asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, you know, this may sound a little strange, but I'd like to go to the grave of von Neumann at Princeton University. I went there and we were looking around. It was already dark and we found a little Hungarian flag on the ground. And so we knew we were near the grave of von Neumann. Another Hungarian or a Hungarian-American had come there and placed that flag there in respect for von Neumann's Hungarian roots and all he had accomplished by being educated at a gymnasium here and in the world and of course in the US. Von Neumann, I would love for him to have been able to just scan quickly. I'm sure it wouldn't have taken him a long time to review the draft EU AI Act, to review the executive order on AI just issued 6 days ago. Can you imagine the thoughts he would have had for us all? Unfortunately, sajnos, we cannot have that, but we have the work that he gave us to continue to build on. And that legacy will never end for me, and I'm sure for all of you as well. As von Neumann put it in a different work, The Computer and the Brain, he said, the human brain is, after all, the best example we have of an intelligent system. And on that note, again, I'd like to thank you so much, and I hope we can meet in person again sometime soon. Thank you so much.